It's time for Debrief, your quick wrap-up of TRT World's top stories from the week.
We can start with the weather.
Israeli forces have intercepted dozens of vessels from a Gaza-bound aid flotilla. And earlier on Monday, Israel's foreign ministry warned the vessels to turn back. More than 50 boats departed from the Turkish port city of Marmaris last week, aimed at challenging Israel's blockade over the Palestinian enclave.
The Palestinians themselves have suffered much more than we have. We're just being chased by a few drones, being intercepted. However, they are being starved. They've been subject to a genocide. It doesn't matter what Israel does to us. They are the world's evil. We are against them.
Many activists aiming to break the naval blockade were captured and transferred to a Navy ship described as a floating prison heading for the port of Ashdod.
The plan is, as far as I understood, to take our comrades to these prison ships again and torture them.
Hundreds of international activists took part in the mission carrying aid to Gaza. Israel has notoriously attacked these expeditions since they began in 2007.
The Global Sumud Flotilla says all 50 of its boats bound for Gaza have been intercepted by Israel and are currently being forcibly transported to the country.
The ship that the Israelis have pretty much arrived at the port here in Ashdod. On board, more than 400 activists. This is what you can say or describe as a floating prison.
The flotilla was intercepted in international waters to the west of the island of Cyprus. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu watched the operation unfold from military headquarters in Tel Aviv, praising soldiers intercepting it.
I think you are doing an exceptional job.
Israel has detained hundreds of activists from a flotilla bound for Gaza. The Global Sumud Flotilla aimed to break an Israeli blockade. Now footage has emerged from Ashdod in Israel, where the activists are shown face down, hands tied behind their backs. Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir is seen waving the Israeli flag.
The activists, all 400 plus of them, are on their way to the Ketziot prison in southern Israel. They have arrived in the port city of Ashdod earlier in the day.
The UN Special Rapporteur for Rights in Palestine and other occupied territories is accusing the EU of being complicit here in the kidnapping, she says, of these activists because they were taken in international waters.
Well, Italy and France have both summoned their Israeli ambassadors over the treatment of illegally detained Gaza flotilla activists. Ireland says it's appalled and shocked by Israel's treatment, and Spain denounced the treatment as monstrous.
3 Turkish state-sponsored flights landed in Istanbul on Thursday. On board were activists from the Global Sumud Flotilla who were illegally detained by Israeli forces.
3 repatriation flights dispatched by Ankara safely brought home 422 activists.
We did the best we could, but unfortunately we couldn't breach the blockade. We were beaten badly. I was beaten by 27 Israeli soldiers.
Accounts of severe violence and mistreatment during the interception at sea and during captivity are widespread among the returning group.
The United States and Germany are funding it 100% with the backing of England, France and all the Western governments who are a white menace spreading pestilence and violence wherever they go. They have a war machine to make billions, and I for one, as a mother and a doctor and an Irish citizen, saying, up yours, we must change the world.
We were tortured, we were beaten, we were injured, but we never forgot the suffering of the Palestinian people.
For them, the broader goal was to draw attention to Palestinian suffering, and many believe they succeeded.
And Debrief spoke with a Global Sumud Flotilla activist.
How were you treated, and especially what happened, especially when Ben-Gvir came in to talk to you?
When he did not talk to us, Ben-Gvir, he was afraid, not like last time when he said something. He came in, he had a lady following him who was taking videos, and she was laughing whilst they were kicking us and they were doing all the stuff that they normally do. But it's not just, it's a shame obviously that Ben-Gvir came there, but all the propaganda they were doing even when we got off the airport, as if You had all the people making their finger like this at us and everything, as if we were terrorists. They treated us like the Nazis treated them in the 1940s. They have learned exactly the same thing. The ship is a concentration camp. It has barbed wires all over. You have the people pointing guns at you all the time. They shot at us. They cannon watered us, and it was cold in the night. They stole our shoes and everything, and they would spray water on the floor so we could not sleep because we were all wet. They have done exactly, they're doing exactly what they did to them, what the Nazis did to them. I would like to remember that our Palestinian brothers and sisters are experiencing this, worse than this, for years now. So we think it's time that the government should no longer be complicit.
Iran says it has responded to a new US proposal through Pakistan aimed at ending the war. And it comes as US President Trump has warned Iran, quote, that the clock is ticking as talks have stalled.
The media outlet affiliated with the IRGC said that Tehran has responded to the US's proposal in a 14-point proposal that has been handed over to the Pakistani mediators.
We were speaking in the last hour about Iran officially announcing a new body to manage the Strait of Hormuz.
When we see the United States as negotiating on the nuclear deal, we see the Iranians are negotiating on something else, basically. Lifting the naval blockade and also basically ending the war. So therefore, we are not actually seeing any concessions going on.
President Donald Trump has once again veered to extremes. On Sunday, threatening to attack Iran again if it did not agree to U.S. terms to end the war. But on Monday, saying negotiations were going so well that he was delaying a renewed attack on Iran that he had planned for Tuesday at the urging of Gulf nations.
I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others.
But Donald Trump maintains that American forces remain ready to launch a larger-scale assault at a moment's notice.
The Iranian economy suffered about $270 billion in losses. The Arab economy is up to $200 billion. So I am not surprised that the Gulf states have been urging President Trump not to renew hostilities.
As the US Senate tries to curb Donald Trump's power to wage war in Iran, the president himself has told lawmakers the conflict will end very quickly. You've heard that before. He's also repeated a warning to Tehran that time is running out to reach a deal and that Washington is ready to attack again within days.
I mean, I'm saying 2 or 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, maybe early next week.
Well, Iran's recently established Persian Gulf Strait Authority has released a map and it shows where vessels can transit the Strait of Hormuz, but only after coordinating with Iran and obtaining permits for safe passage.
Iran is reviewing Washington's latest response to end their war. Pakistan is still the main mediator between the two, and its army chief is expected in Tehran for further talks.
Talks between the US and Iran may be edging towards a possible peace deal. Qatar has sent a team of negotiators to Tehran.
I think this is very significant, the Pakistani efforts, because probably this is the only diplomatic window where the world and the region can hope that finally a diplomatic solution can be found.
Here's the news in brief, where we bring you even more top stories.
Starting off in Central Africa, an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has put the WHO on high alert. With nearly 750 suspected cases, including 177 deaths, the WHO declared the healthcare crisis an emergency of international concern on Sunday. The latest strain was identified in Ituri province in the DRC before spreading to North Kivu, where experts estimate it circulated for about 2 months before being confirmed. It has also been detected in the M23-controlled South Kivu.
A few days after the first case of Ebola was confirmed in the city of Goma, the area that is under control of M23 rebels, international partners are setting up some isolation or some treatment centers within Goma and its surrounding areas. At the same time, Congolese authorities in Kinshasa are saying that the occupation of this town of Goma by M23 troops might hinder all efforts that are aiming at containing this epidemic.
The ongoing violence in the country is restricting the movement of humanitarian workers. Alongside this, the UN says weak healthcare infrastructure and the movement of displaced people are making it harder to contain the outbreak. There's currently no cure or vaccine for this latest variant, and the UN is releasing $60 million from an emergency fund to help respond to the crisis. Over in the US, 3 people, including a security guard, were killed in an attack at an Islamic center in San Diego, California, when 2 teenage gunmen opened fire on Monday. The victims were trying to hold off the attack to prevent further bloodshed at a time when children were at the mosque school. The suspects, aged 17 and 18, were found dead several blocks away, believed to have taken their own lives. The FBI is investigating the incident and treating it as a hate crime. Staying in the US, Washington is ramping up its pressure campaign against Havana. On Wednesday, former Cuban President Raul Castro was indicted in the US on murder charges for his alleged role in the shooting down of 2 civilian planes in 1996. The US at the same time has offered Cuba $100 million in humanitarian aid, despite maintaining a blockade that caused electricity, fuel, and food shortages across the country. US President Donald Trump says many past presidents have considered action on Cuba, but he may very well have to be the one to do it.
The President's preference is always a negotiated agreement that's peaceful. That's always our preference. That remains our preference with Cuba. I'm just being honest with you. You know, the likelihood of that happening, given who we're dealing with right now, is not high.
And another high-profile visit to China this week by Russian President Vladimir Putin, welcoming American and Russian leaders days apart, was a chance for President Xi Jinping to show off Beijing's diplomatic reach, signing more than 20 declarations and a special agreement vowing to establish a new multipolar world. Moscow and Beijing have both described their partnership as limitless. On his 25th presidential visit to China, Putin said the relations between the 2 neighbors are the best they've ever been.
Our cooperation on foreign policy matters is one of the key stabilizing factors on the international stage. A complex process is underway to shape a polycentric world based on a balance of interests among all its participants. Together with the Chinese friends, we defend cultural and civilizational diversity and respect for the sovereign development of states, and we strive to build a more just and democratic world order. In the current tense situation on the international stage, our close cooperation is particularly in demand.